Have you ever listened to a song and felt an instant lift? Like something just clicked and suddenly the music became more powerful, more emotional. That's the hidden magic of key changes. And today we're going to uncover how they work and how you can use them in your own songwriting. A key change, or modulation, is one of the most powerful tools a songwriter has to shake up the emotional impact of a song. The shift in tonal center has the power to surprise, to energize, and elevate your music instantly. Whether it's a subtle shift or a dramatic leap, key changes are the perfect way to add depth and progression to your compositions. The problem is that there are so many ways to achieve this that it can become overwhelming. So to keep things manageable, I will concentrate on 4 main ways for you to change key. Let's start with the first approach. One of the simplest ways to change keys is through transposition. To transpose a piece of music means to move it into a different key without changing any of its relative movements. This is an extremely common trick in pop music, often used to create a lift towards the final chorus. For example, listen to this simple progression in the key of C major. Imagine this repeating several times in a song as a chorus, clearly establishing C major as the tonic. But instead of going back to C major after the 5-chord G major, we play the same progression transposed up a semitone into the key of D flat major. When you have a sudden change in key like that, without any warning, it stands out a mile. Our brains get used to a certain tonal center, and when that pattern is broken, suddenly we immediately sense that something is different. This kind of sudden shift, sometimes called a gear change or shift, is often in an upward direction, moving a half step or whole step. It has the feeling of increasing energy or emotion. Here's the previous example again, but this time moving up a whole step to the D major key to show you the same effect. This technique isn't just reserved for pop music. You'll hear it in classical compositions, jazz improvisations, and even in progressive rock, where extended modulations can take listeners on an emotional roller coaster, particularly through instrumental sections. Although less common, key changes aren't limited to whole or half step. For example, in Celine Dion's My Heart Will Go On, the final chorus ascends by a full major third, lifting the vocals to a soaring, powerful peak that amplifies the song's emotional climax. These kind of key changes are almost a cliché of 80s pop and power ballads, but in more modern music, they have become increasingly rare. So, this might present an opportunity for your own songwriting, giving you an easy way to stand out from the crowd. If you think that last way to change key had an impact, wait until you hear the next one. It's another simple technique, and it's one of my favourite tricks to bring drama and impact to a song. It's called a parallel key change. This is where you shift from a major key to its parallel minor, or vice versa. Parallel keys are those which have the same root note in the scale that they are constructed from. If this sounds confusing, don't panic. It's very simple. For example, if you have a song in the key of C major, you just move to the key of C minor. Changing key like this provides a very strong mood switch. You've gone from the brightness and joy of the major key to the darkness and melancholy of the minor, or vice versa. This is a very common technique to provide significant contrast between song sections. Maybe you have an upbeat chorus with positive lyrics, and then you want to create a more contemplative and sad verse or bridge. This is where the parallel key change is a versatile songwriting technique. To experience this kind of change, let's go back to our example progression in the key of C major. After playing it once through, I will shift to the parallel key of C minor. I'll use the same Roman numerals in the parallel minor key for greater comparison. But in reality, you don't have to do this. Have a listen to this drama now. If you've ever struggled with finding the perfect harmony for your song ideas, feeling stuck, second guessing or relying on trial and error, the melody to harmony is exactly what you need. This simple, step-by-step system is designed to help you confidently pick the right chords to bring your melodies to life. No more frustration, no more guesswork, just great sounding music that actually fits your creative vision. Learn more at writeasongnow.com or hit the link in the description. Let's move on to the third way to change key now, pivot chords. These are the secret to seamless modulations. If you want to modulate smoothly without it feeling forced, pivot chords are your best friend. A pivot chord is a chord that belongs to both the original key and the new key, allowing you to shift naturally. If we go back to the example progression in the key of C major, it ends with the 5-chord G major. So where could we pivot with this chord? Well, G major is the 1 chord in the key of G major, so we could easily move to this key. But one of the best ways to establish a new key is to play a cadence. In major keys, this means playing the 4 or 5 chord followed by the 1 tonic chord. This establishes the 1 chord as the tonal center, which can be important after changing key. So with our example, that G major chord is also the 4 chord in the key of D major. Let's try that out now and repeat the progression afterwards in this new key. Another way to modulate is by using secondary dominants. These are dominant chords borrowed from outside the key to create tension and resolution into a new tonal center. I'll link to a video at the end of this one if you want to learn more about them. For example, if you're in C major and you want to get to D minor, you might use an A7 chord. A dominant 7 is the 5 of 2 chord, making it feel natural to land there. This trick is used all the time in jazz and classical music, but you'll also hear it in rock, blues and pop when a song needs a strong directional push. What normally happens after this is you will continue in your original key. In this case, you'd keep going in C major, but you can also use this as an excuse to make a more permanent modulation and carry on in D minor. In the next example, I'll take both approaches, staying in C major after the first A7 and then creating a D minor key progression after the second A7. If you want to experiment with key changes, start simple. Try transposing your final chorus up a semitone and see how it feels. If you want a more subtle approach, use a pivot chord to glide into a new key smoothly. Or if you want a dramatic mood shift, then try moving between parallel major and minor keys. And if you're feeling adventurous, play around with secondary dominants and wider modulations to create truly unique progressions. Key changes are a secret weapon in songwriting. They can make your music more exciting, more emotional and more memorable, so don't be afraid to experiment. Your next song might just need that extra lift to make it truly special. The problem with changing key is it can be intimidating. If you want to dip your toe into the water without committing to a full modulation, then you need to learn all about secondary dominants. Learn all about them by watching the video on screen now.